Oh, hi, everybody. My name is Matt Storrs, and welcome to Mattsplaining. On today's episode, I have an expert on who I'm very excited to speak with. Expert, can you please introduce yourself and tell us what you're an expert in?
Thank you, Matt. My name is Rebecca Housley, and I am an expert at medical tourism.
Medical tourism is so fascinating to me. I feel like I know quite a bit about it. And most people, when they're thinking about medical tourism, they're thinking of the things that are getting really hot right now. So people going, mostly men going to Turkey, for instance, to get their hairlines readjusted and then returning. And there's just these planes that you'll see on Instagram and stuff, just full of men with shaved head that looks very red with saran wrap over it. There's also things like people going to Poland for dental surgery because Poland naturally and historically has been a home for a lot of dental procedures. But then, there's more elective procedures that people will travel for. Oh, before we even get there, then also in the United States, you have people that will go across the border, whether it be to Canada or to Mexico, to pick up prescriptions, maybe in larger amounts, whether it be for themselves, family members, what have you. That's a very standard and historical thing that Americans have done to, I don't want to say be drug mules, like more like a drug wagon, if that makes sense. Like the people that would be homesteaders going back in olden times, there was some paraphernalia, there was some maybe alcohol or something that maybe not appropriate. And I think it keeps up with that kind of tradition of people bringing something out west that maybe other people in their group would look down upon. And of course, as I was trying to alluding to initially, some of the elective procedures are very popular in South America. A lot of people going to Argentina to get reduction surgeries, whether it be calf reductions. People think about people getting calf implants and stuff like that, but Argentina's really set itself apart by doing calf and liposuction and breast reduction, all of these reduction surgeries. And not to be outdone, Uruguay has started doing elective surgeries where they're actually attaching and elongating people's spines and adding a tail to the end of
My
it. Yeah, it's becoming more and more popular as time has progressed
goodness.
and what they're capable of doing. Because a lot of people think, like some modern age, there's a lot of capacity for technological advancements in terms of just the medical capacity that we're able to do and how we're able to help people. But in the next coming years, there's going to be these offshore boats that are going to be in maritime law waters whose laws really cover them, and they're going to be offering mechanized enhancements to anybody who is looking for it. So whether or not it's you want to have a tail, whether or not you want to have wings, whether or not you want a robotic eye that can access the
Oh,
internet at any
wow.
time. A lot of these things are very cutting edge of the medical tourism, but what's nice is you're not going to have to go to Uruguay to go and get that. It's just you got to go to your port city and then take I want to say a pontoon boat, but it doesn't have to be a pontoon boat. It could be a tugboat. It could be
Oh, my.
a yacht. People might do it on
Ooh,
yachts.
that sounds better.
Yeah, a much better experience. It's kind of a premium experience. And you go out there and you go to this ship that's anchored in the bay or maybe further out than the bay.
Mhm.
And because I think that most maritime law, if correct me if I'm wrong, the laws of the country extend into the bays, so you have to go beyond the bays. But that's that, maybe they'll try and extend it even further. This is not, these people they know where to dock and where to anchor their boats. So we can rely on them to make sure that it's in the proper place. But yeah, it's gonna be an amazing, brave new world of medical
Wow.
tourism that is going to become available on top of what we have now. So,
Mm.
um, based on what you've heard so far, about how much of that would you say was accurate?
Well, I think you started off well, Matt. I think, you touched on one procedure that is very common with the hair implants procedure, but you probably get it maybe 50-50. You went off the rails with the maritime medical procedures. I'm not sure that foresee that because what you forgot was the tourism part of
I
it.
see.
Yes,
I see.
yes. So people do travel for medical procedures. And why do they do that?
Hmm.
Because it's much cheaper in other countries while still you're getting top of the line care and it's super safe and financially it's just so much better for a person. And I'll just give you some examples. First, I guess I should talk about the history of it. So
Absolutely.
during the 19th and the 20th centuries, affluent Europeans, so they would travel to health resorts and mineral rich spas in places like Switzerland and Germany to treat various ailments. But in the mid 20th century, the practice really evolved as people began traveling to other countries for cosmetic surgery, dental care, and alternative treatments. But like right now, we're seeing an increase in people wanting to travel for chronic illnesses because a lot of the chronic illnesses here in the US, you go to a doctor and they basically want to give you medicine or prescriptions to treat the symptoms of your chronic illness, but they don't necessarily want to cure you of that chronic illness. And we are seeing an amazing response for the stem cell therapy and as far as like treating cancers and treating things like COPD or things like rheumatoid arthritis or multiple sclerosis. Like a lot of these things are being treated by stem cell therapy, and it's showing a lot of promise. So medical tourism is not just about going for cosmetic surgery, although it is about that as well. But these days, people are using it more and more to treat chronic conditions. And like I mentioned earlier, Matt, you missed the whole
Mm.
tourism part.
Right.
They were allowing a boat, us to go on a boat and get procedures done. There would just be the boat to look at.
Yeah, and
So,
that is the high seas can be very peaceful and
oh,
serene.
yeah.
It's not the same as a real tourist experience, I would say.
Oh, for sure. So, one of the things that I help with, because I do book tours for people going for medical tourism, especially to Turkey, which you mentioned. And
Hmm.
one of the things is for people that are looking to start a family, but they're just having trouble and they are interested in having vitro fertilization treatment.
Hmm.
And just to give you a little comparison, okay? So my niece had this procedure in Dallas, Texas, and at the end of it all, they had spent $60,000
Oh, wow.
on in vitro fertilization. You can have those same procedures in Turkey. I have some amazing contacts there, and yet you're going to pay $5,000 depending. That is a huge difference. And can you imagine someone starting a family with a $60,000 deficit in their bank account? And compare that to only 5,000. And then in addition to the treatment over there, those couples are having what I like to call a pre-baby moon, right? So
Mhm.
they're enjoying the Turkish baths, they're going to the Grand Bazaar, they're touring Hagia Sophia and Ephesus and Cappadocia and all these wonderful places. And they're also experiencing the wine and the food. A lot of people don't know this, but Turkey, it was actually one of the first wine-making countries, and so many people
Interesting.
don't know that. But they started in 7,000 years ago, whereas France and Italy, which is what we normally think about when we think about wine,
Mhm.
started 4,000 years ago. So
Right.
they have about 3,000 years on those other countries. And it's very interesting. It's not just about the procedure, although I call it a transformative escape, especially for those people going to cure a chronic illness because they are going there and once they get the stem cell therapy and then they're able to enjoy this culture and see all these places, and then when they go back home, they take those memories of the amazing vacation that they've had, but then their chronic illness is also cured in a lot of cases. It's just one of those wonderful things I think not too many people know about. They've been doing it in Europe for a long time, like I mentioned, and mainly you'll find a lot of people from the UK doing it,
Right.
just due to their national healthcare system, and a lot of people from Canada as well.
Mhm.
But mainly, like you mentioned, Matt, so many people in the US, they just think about Mexico. And then mainly, I think that they're going to Mexico for dental, or I think there was someone in the news going for a tummy tuck and they had been caught up in a drug war or something. I'm not sure exactly like how super safe it is in Mexico, but I can tell you that Turkey is very safe. And many of the doctors, what I like to let people know is many of the doctors were trained here in the US. And so they get all their training here in the US and then they go back home where their family is and start their practice. It's just really a cutting edge healthcare country and they just welcome all the visitors with open arms. And it's just a really amazing deal as far as getting medical treatment and not paying as much as you would in the States, but yet getting high quality care and then adding that wonderful vacation holiday of your dreams.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that is one of the things that, yeah, I definitely overlooked with it in my description. But I would also say that with the medical tourism, is there like the question that I have, is there like a balance? If they're going out for these procedures, sometimes these procedures might have a time to a recovery time. So would you say that most people are looking to do this? And I'm realizing now as I'm saying the question that this is, but would you say that most of the time they're having their kind of their sightseeing, their kind of adventures prior to the procedure, or do you think that people
Yeah,
do it on both sides of the procedures?
they really can do it on both sides. Okay, say you'll do some touring when you first get there, and then we might set up your procedure a couple of days after. And then, yes, of course, there's going to be recovery time. But the thing about it is that you don't spend but just for typically 1 day in the hospital. And some people don't even spend overnight in the hospital. They have these amazing recovery hospitals there that have five-star culinary experiences.
Mhm.
So you don't have to worry about where your meals are going to come from. They do such an amazing job with that. And then you get daily massages while you're there,
Oh,
daily spa
wow.
experiences. You get to take cooking classes if you like. There are so many more opportunities than people even realize when you're doing such a thing like this. But the good thing about it is in those recovery hotels, and there's, like I said, they're really five-star luxury hotels, super clean and beautiful with very luxurious amenities. But everybody there is typically recovering from something, and a lot of it is cosmetic surgery. Yeah, so
Hmm.
you're going to see people with bandages on their noses. Yes, I did see a gentleman with it wasn't quite saran wrap on his head,
Okay.
but it was a big bandage on his head. But you'll see a lot of people recovering, and people are typically they're by themselves, which is
Hmm.
why I started my company, Transformative Escapes,
Hmm.
because I figured it is such a scary thing to think about going, across the globe to have a scary medical procedure, and many people are going by themselves. And so I wanted to take groups over there where I could be there and assure the people that they were 100% supported and take care of their every need, whatever that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that is why I started my company and why I help connect people to medical tourism opportunities. And I also wrote a book. I just wanted to
Hmm.
let your listeners know. My book is called Transformative Escapes Unlocking the Power of Medical Tourism. And you can find that on Amazon right now.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I really connect with that because whenever I travel, especially if I'm doing solo travel, one of the things that I like always try to do for myself is to give myself a few hours to just cry and get acclimated to the new city, the new country, whatever it is. Just be able to feel like I can get lost and understand how things can work so I can get comfortable. But anytime that I've traveled with a group or anything like that, you can share the stress of acclimation, and so like
Exactly.
you can get comfortable more quickly. And I really think that is one of the best ways to travel.
Absolutely, absolutely, because you have a support system, and I feel like with medical tourism, you need a support system. It's not going to be all wine and roses, although it will be some wine and roses. But you are going for a procedure, and depending on what you're going for, it can be pretty painful. Of course, you're given tons of drugs if you are going for especially cosmetic surgery, say
Hmm.
that's one of the more, painful procedures. And so you will be given drugs and stuff like that to
Right.
help you be as comfortable as possible. But again, you're going to get daily massages, you're going to get the spa treatments and all these wonderful things. They have a very serene place to walk around, like a garden, or just sit in the garden and enjoy yourself. It's just it's even it's crazy because I've heard had surgery in the US and I've never been treated that fabulously.
Right.
You're in the hospital, you're on lockdown. There are no massages or spa
Yeah,
treatments.
that was
So,
wild. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And you think about it, and then the price that you pay over here in comparison is like, it's just really night and day. So,
absolutely.
I say, why not?
Absolutely. Yeah, this has been so insightful, Rebecca. If people want to learn more about you or more about this topic, where would you recommend they go?
They can go to my website, which is transformativeescapes.com, and I would encourage them to join my Facebook group as well. There is a link on my website to join me on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And I'd love to see all your listeners there, Matt.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been so insightful.
You bet.
Wonderful. My name is Matt Storrs, and this has been Mattsplaining.